You are now listening to Nerd Hour. Amateur Hour. Please, allow me to show you something. Let's get to work.
We don't know what's going on with him, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't get a choice to know. Welcome to Film Nerds Hour. I'm very sleepy. But with that being said, I'm still in the world that I love. With Noah Sweeto as a co-host. And being Nathaniel Shoemaker as myself. Yes, I'm hijacking the intro. Don't give me that look while I'm doing it.
I ain't give anybody any look.
He's definitely giving me a look. There's no evidence to the contrary. Thank you for doing an audio show. Why are you taking your shirt off? Why are you pulling out an AK-47? Alright, I'll shut up.
I don't think this is Grand Theft Auto.
I'll shut up. We're talking about The Wish.
Well, yes, which is by
Turn
Robert
off your
Eggers.
phone. Silence your fucking phone.
That was it. But, no.
Oh, good. That makes it better. You were just going to look up Snapchats while I was freaking doing a show here. Fine, I'm going to play Magic the Gathering while we're doing a show. Not sponsored. Fuck you.
Although he would like to be sponsored by Magic the
Yeah,
Gathering.
please, Magic. If you want to give me some money or some pre-released cards, I'd enjoy and review for a show. Anyway.
That was a hint, Magic. Anyway.
Wizards of the Coast, please. Also, if you want to let me in on some D&D content, I'll do that as well.
Angel's going to be jealous about that.
Maybe she'll be a part of it. She would definitely be a part of it. I have no clue what I would be doing.
Although you guys do not know her yet, because you haven't had the pleasure of
way to tease some shit.
So
they don't know who Angela is. They don't know about mermaids.
Well, maybe they do.
And the opposite direction of up. Anyway.
But, we're going to be doing the first debut film by Robert Eggers. So for those of you who don't know, he is one of the, I want to say, I guess technically two aspiring, that start off horror directors. I believe Robert is doing a...
Who's that we know?
Yeah, I think he's doing a political, or not a political, a historical fictional story now with Adam Driver, I think.
Called what?
That's what I'm looking up right now. The Northman. That'll come out in 2022 now. And if you take a look at Robert Eggers, he kind of looks like Oliver Queen. He kind of looks like Stephen Amell.
I'm gonna look that up.
It could be.
Is he Canadian as well?
I do know. I don't know, and I forgot that. I did forget that Stephen Amell is Canadian.
He does look like Stephen Amell, you're right. The Northman? That looks like
Yeah.
It. The set photos look cool. And Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be in it. And Willem Dafoe. And 2 Skarsgårds. My God.
Yeah, he's got a big one. But then again, he's proven.
Oh, that's clever. Do you know why Bill Skarsgård and Alexander Skarsgård are both in it? They both play the same character, just at different stages in their lives.
That's clever.
Right? It's kind of like how I want a movie about somebody's life, but I want Finn Wolfhard to play them, and then Adam Driver to play that same person. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I guess he looks a little more than Bill Hader. I could see both. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I saw somebody made a meme of it. It was like, can we get a movie about someone's life, and it starts off with them being played by Finn Wolfhard, and then Adam Driver, and then when it ends, they're being played by Keanu Reeves.
That would be
Did
interesting.
I just blow your mind? Yeah.
That would be interesting. But The Northman will be a Nordic, Viking-styled adventure drama.
And it's literally got everybody from this movie in it.
Does it? Oh, yeah, it does. It's also going to have... Oh, they're going to have The Mountain in there, too.
And Ethan Hawke.
Yeah,
I have a cousin who's met Ethan Hawke.
See, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, Robert Eggers, his first movie that we're talking about today is The Witch, into which that was his first ever movie. And if you've seen this or the next movie that we'll be covering, the Lighthouse, which is also by Robert Eggers, his sophomore movie, as The Northman will be his third, you know why he probably got the big budget he did to do this movie, because it looks like he has a budget of $110 million for The Northman, or The Northman. So
yeah, it's because he proved himself with these two movies.
Yes, which these are great movies if you love the historical kind of folklore.
And also psychedelic.
Yeah, if you guys like psychological films, this is definitely Robert Eggers is great at that, which I'm going to be excited to see what he does doing like an adventure drama instead. But The Witch is the perfect folklore.
It is an old folk
movies.
tale. They would leave little chestnuts on Ralky Looky Day. I don't know if that's offensive. I apologize. But anyway.
But
don't tisk at me with your fucking ooh, no. Sorry for swearing, God. Go on.
It is quite interesting though how well this movie was made, just from its decor and its just like everything about this is both visually stunning. It really makes you feel like you are looking at like basically a play from the what is it, 16th century, 15th century.
Yeah, it would be 15th century because it's in the 1600s and the zero counts as one. So
you really get the 1600s aesthetic there. One thing that...
A lot of people in pilgrim hats.
Yes, and a lot of religious overtones. So if you're not one of those people... I mean, it is necessary to the story because it takes place, I believe, the same year basically as the witch trials.
I think, well, that's the same... stretch of time. I think it was 16 something else that the
1630s, isn't that when
when
they started doing like the Coven witch trials and whatnot?
The Salem witch trials.
Salem,
Massachusetts. That started in 1693. So or no, between 1692 and 1693. So almost 100 years later. Yeah, a dark time in our history. A lot of people died for literally no reason. Have you heard of the tests that they would do for witch trials?
Yeah, those of you who also... this movie was also set in the 1630s, by the way.
Yeah.
For those of you who...
Okay, so like 60 years later. We're going.
Yeah. For those of you who want to play a game that's kind of inspired around that, the Dark Anthology series by Supermassive Games, who did Until Dawn for PS4, they have come out with Man of Medan, and then Little Hope is the one that they most recently came out with that addresses and has the overtone of the witch trials in there. So that's actually really, really, really interesting. So if you guys would like to try that, you guys can do that as well. That's a pretty educational game, I'd say, for the most part.
Yeah. I think the most bizarre, for me anyway, the most bizarre test for seeing if someone was a witch, just because it's very obviously flawed, was the swimming test.
Yeah.
You know of that?
Yeah. Isn't that where they tied a boulder and expected them to get out?
No. So basically, they threw you in water, and if you floated...
Yeah, that
meant that you were a witch and they had to hang you. But if you sank, that meant you weren't a witch.
But you died either way.
That's why it's very flawed, Noah.
They really had some crazy...
They weren't well educated in the 15th century.
No, they weren't, because it makes you think like...
Or would it be the 17th century then, because it's the 1600s, right? Yeah, because we're the 20th... We're in the 21st century, and it's the 2000s. So it'll be the 17th century.
They really weren't smart.
A lot of flawed ideas, a lot of flawed concepts. Killing a bunch of Native Americans for no reason is another one. But what are you going to do, I guess?
Yeah, this movie, I think, reflects perfectly on, at the beginning at least, of the religious flaws of how accusatory and the religious overtone of the believing of witches plays a huge role in this. A big, great, hugely great performance by Anna Taylor-Joy and
her premiere performance. This is the first thing she ever did.
Was it?
Yeah. Way to come out swinging.
And Ralph Ineson did a great job as well. The dynamic between like the father and daughter duo in there was great.
Yeah. Can we give a shout out? I don't know his name, but can we give a shout out to the goat that played Black Phillip? Because that's some great animal acting.
I almost forgot the goat was in there.
How do you forget the goat was in there? That's like the main thing.
I wasn't thinking of it offhand just because of who it is. Yeah,
Ralph,
looks like Anna Taylor-Joy too is going to be.
I think it's Anya, but yeah.
Anya's going to be in the Mad Max series.
Really?
Going forward, she's in 2 for Ruza.
That's awesome.
And then the Mad Max: The Wasteland. Both slated for 2023 releases. So, however, that's going to work, but
that's really great. Good for her.
We were promised that 2 years ago. So
yeah.
But yeah, for those of you who want to see more of her work, Thoroughbreds, I've heard, is another great movie that she's in.
Oh, yes. It was Anton Yelchin's last movie. That's why I wanted to see it. It's a great movie, though.
I'll have to check it out. It looked really interesting.
I own it. I'll lend you the copy.
Split and Glass she was also in.
Great. Amazing.
She was fantastic in those.
Have you seen Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
I have not watched it yet, but I heard she did phenomenal in that.
Fantastic. She is a queen. She was also in Emma and the Miniature, which are more, I think, the miniaturists I believe, are both Queen and like royalty dramas. And then she was also in the New Mutants, the final X-Men movie, which the movie itself is not good, but she does great in there. It shows that she has a range. She is set to be in Last Night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright horror movie, which I am beyond excited for.
Yes, so she's got some, definitely got some good projects coming up here.
Yeah, she was in Morgan.
That's right. So that wasn't her premiere. That was her premiere, because I was going to say.
It would have been, wouldn't it? Because it came before The Witch didn't. Or no, Witch was 2015. Morgan was 2016.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay. I keep thinking The Witch was 2016.
Oh, yeah, and then she was in the Dark Crystal show on Netflix.
Actually, it looks like she was in the Vampire Academy movie. Was her first one.
Oh, really?
That came out in 2014.
Well, this was her first big
But I think
No. Technically, The Witch first, because it came out in festivals.
Not sure, probably would have got
like a year prior. So it probably would have came out like 2 months before Vampire Academy.
Because I think Vampire says it came out February 7th, 2014.
Yeah. But she's only a year older than me. Wow.
Yeah, she's really young. She's got a lot. Mm-hmm. Her career's booming. Which makes me kind of worried.
For what?
Because it seems like a lot of the young stars who are already in there.
Mm-hmm. And they're so far into it.
They tend to drop off because they've been in so much.
Sure. I get that.
Because while they have a range, it's like your face is out there so much. It's like...
I mean, it's that, and it's also some stars have a tendency to...
It gets too much.
It's too much, but also it's like, depending on what you're in, like if you're in a franchise that has to do with like merchandising and all this kind of stuff, like you can probably live off royalties for a while. You know what I mean? Like she gets a check for any time a Blu-ray of a movie she's been in is sold. Like it's a minute check, but it's a check nonetheless. You know what I mean? So
right.
I could totally see, like, why some people would be like, I was in 10 movies, and I get checks for each of those movies that I did frick long ago every day of my life. Like, I don't need to do anything else.
I really want to do...
I don't get the vibe from her that she's going to be done for a while.
No.
Because she seems very much like us in that she likes creating things and making things.
That's why I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
And that's really why I want to be director. I'm not in it
so
for
you
the
can
money.
meet her? Okay.
No. I just... the creation is fun. I mean, that's why we do the podcast. It's fun to create, and it's... fun because you look at somebody like Kevin Smith, who's just a movie buff, and was like,
he was like us,
fuck it, I'm gonna go make a movie.
It's crazy to think. And I look like him, some people say. That's the thing
more
about
like Jack Black.
That's the thing about being a nerdy, overweight white guy. Everyone's like, you look like Jack Black or Kevin Smith or a few Kyle Gass or.
I mean, but yeah, I'm just excited to see her more. I really wish we could have got a follow-up to The Witch, but it is definitely one of those movies I don't want to see a sequel to.
No.
That being said, I know that we'll talk about that in a different episode because of things that we have coming out in the future, but I know at the time that we're doing this, they've talked about Joker 2.
Oh.
And Todd Phillips doing it. They hired him, and I want to see it, but I also, like, it's one of those things that you have to incorporate in a universe. You can't just make a second one. It's perfect as it is. And I think Todd Phillips had the right idea by leaving it alone.
See, this is a very conflicting situation for us because you have the opinion of the Joker movie that I have about Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. Let it be done. It can be finished now. Don't bring him back for anything under any circumstance. I mean, I kind of look at the man eat bread. Okay.
I look at The Witch like that too. The Witch is something that does not need a sequel.
It doesn't need anything farther from it. It doesn't need a prequel book or something.
That's the thing though. You could extend The Witch and take it from a different time. Like maybe you go to the Salem witch trials.
Or there's a part of me that would really love to know why they got kicked out in the first place. It's teased and hinted at. But
you could have had some backstory for the village and what was going on there. But see, it's like, for me, it's kind of like Joker. It's one of those things that was told and that it does have the potential, but the way it was told was supposed to kind of just be a theoretical, in a sense.
Right.
So I feel like, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, you have the big reveal at the end of The Witch, so kind of getting into it beat for beat, and we'll kind of split off and put our own 2 cents in like we usually do for the episodes. But...
Exactly. You guys know at this point, and if you haven't, this is what we do.
So you got a 5-second spoiler warning.
Yeah.
5,
and then
4, 3, 2, and 1.
Well, and then also we have to say where people can view it before.
That's right.
Yeah.
So right after we're done telling you where you can watch this amazing movie, then
we get to spoilers. But
I love how The Witcher comes up first whenever you look up.
When you type The Witch, it auto completes to but
yeah. Right now,
if you have a Showtime subscription, it's available on Amazon Prime or Hulu with the extension of that, or the Showtime app, or the Showtime Anytime app.
Or I think probably Sling. And
Same with
Fubo
Sling and
TV.
Fubo. Sling and Fubo. Yep, and then YouTube, of course. And then you can rent it from Google Play, Apple TV, Vudu, YouTube.
But Vudu, probably would be a cheaper option, unless you guys don't care, because it is a fabulous movie.
Mm-hmm.
$2.99 for Vudu, which is great.
But hey, and if it's a movie you want to own, if you got Amazon Prime, you can buy it for $8. That is a steal to own this movie. Are you kidding me? Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. I mean, this movie, you can't really put... I don't know. You can't really put a price on this movie. It was done so well. And I'm glad that A24, because this is, again, I think I might have mentioned that, but this is the house of A24, guys. Like I said, the other person that I was talking about earlier was Ari Aster. Robert Eggers and Ari Aster are incredible talents that deserve a lot of praise and recognition. They have come up with 2 great horror films that have just been amazing, from their aesthetic and tension and world building,
yes, of course,
to just making it a thrilling experience and so surreal and different.
Quite right. And
The Witch is one of those things where you actually feel like you're being taught a history lesson just through a fictional story. It's great.
Yeah. Wonderful movie. But now we're going to talk about it
in spoiler territory, so you guys have
we already gave him the countdown. We already gave him the countdown.
Oh, I wasn't going to give him a countdown. I'm just saying. If you're still here, spoilers starting now. So,
well, if they're still here, they clearly don't care.
True.
Or they've already seen it. Right off the bat, let's say, with some of the subject matter, of course, I was not the most comfortable watching this movie because, talks of Satan and such.
There's also some
witchcrafting.
Adolescence in here, too.
Exactly.
Of puberty, but they don't really flesh that out in such a inappropriate way.
Well, every good movie has a major plot point and a minor point. So the main, or like a main theme and a minor theme. And the main theme of this is like the witchcraft and religious things, but the minor theme is kind of like, puberty, because you see a lot of Caleb like looking at Thomason in a different way, because he's at that age where he is.
Which Thomason is played by
Anya Taylor-Joy, but she ultimately gets blamed for that later on in the movie.
Yeah, which is super fucked up, but exactly
what happened,
how it worked back then.
How it worked back then, and sometimes how it works now.
It's really just kind of disturbing.
There was a scandal thing recently where like a school is under fire because they edited over yearbook photos
of cleavage. Yeah,
you heard about that. Yeah,
and I was like, no.
Yeah, because here's my thing, man. If people are like looking at these yearbook pictures and being like, oh, the teenage boys, they're looking at them and they're getting feeling. Like, listen, they all have smartphones. They're looking at something else. Trust me.
And
I know there's people who are like, not my kid. I lock my kid's phone. You don't lock the friend's phone. Right. Sorry to be your dose of reality, but
I also just find it funny because I'm like, multiple people had to look at that photo then and go individually looking specifically for that. It's not something that you just randomly are like, oh,
well,
boobs!
Also, like, the guys in the yearbook, they haven't been edited in at all, even though they're showing just as much skin, if not more. So it's like...
Yeah, like, what about all the ripped guys? That's always been my thing that annoys me, because I'm like...
It comes off like you're body shaming these girls, and at that age, they don't need that. At any age, they don't need that, but especially when they're just figuring shit out,
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Even back then, I'm sure girls didn't need that kind of thing, because they're confused enough as it is.
Right.
But anyways, one thing I wanted to say as well before we really get going here, can we just acknowledge the fact that the casting person for this movie was genius? Because the kids who play Mercy and Jonas look exactly the same, and they are not related.
It is amazing, though, how much people can look like siblings or adult versions.
Right. Well, and like I said, hats off to the casting director, because, my God, good pick for those two. Like, crazy good. But anyways, so the family, do they have a last name?
I don't think they ever gave one that I could remember offhand. I think they would have been credited as that.
Yeah. No, it just says his family.
Yeah, no, I think they would have been credited. I don't even think they gave... Oh, shit.
Starting off that yawner. Welcome to the Film Nerds Hour drinking game. Anytime one of us yawns, take a shot.
I don't think they ever, like, even in the opening trial, I don't think they ever gave, like, a name specifically for the family.
I think they're just talking to William about what he did. Because they get banished from it's a Puritan colony. And they get banished because, William's doing some stuff that aren't exactly in line with their religious beliefs.
Yeah, which is... Like I said, I like how they really incorporated the religious aspects of what happened.
Because back then, that's how it would be. So it makes sense.
Well, would they have been Protestants?
They're Puritans.
Puritans, that's right.
Yeah. But they, and it's an interesting thing because he's the only one who talks throughout this whole thing. Because their whole family is essentially on trial because he did one thing. So now the whole family has to pay for it. That's how it was back in those days. But he's essentially like, I did nothing wrong, I'm doing it right, you're the people who are doing things wrong, and I shouldn't be getting punished for it. And I'm saying these things not exactly word for word, because this whole movie is spoken in old-time English, which, say what you will, I was fine with it for the most part. It didn't really bother me.
That's going to be a lot of turn-offs for people, and it shouldn't be.
It's sad that it is, really, personally.
I really, and I wasn't, before I even, started getting more National Films a chance again. I
You're
really
welcome.
wasn't turned off by this movie by the fact that they spoke all the English.
Thine, what dost thou speaketh, or something.
Yeah, it honestly fascinated me because I'm like, man, it's hard enough already to learn a script, and that's why I give like a lot to Anya because I'm like, man, you had to not only for like a first role,
but also a role where you're the main character.
Well, not only that, but I'm like, you had to speak in old-timey English and memorize that script.
And she's in almost every scene of this whole movie, and she's always just saying something.
I was like, I can't imagine how much pressure that must have also been.
Yeah, oh yeah. That kind of feeling couldn't have been fun. But I gotta imagine once you get on that set and you get through it in your costume and stuff, it's gotta be like, oh, okay. Like you kind of just... That kind of feeling, I'm assuming, goes away. Once you really get going, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the good part. I really wish I could see what it was like on sets like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know, I feel like those would be a lot of fun just behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for me, because a lot of those, I know we were talking about earlier, kind of like what goes on behind the scenes. And learn too is that horror films are probably one of the funniest sets to be on.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too if you watch like the behind the scenes of Insidious with James Wan. But you also got to look at the fact that James Wan, man,
funniest dude.
That man is just full of love.
Seriously, have you seen like some stuff from like the Aquaman set? Like,
yeah, that man is just, man. And, not to go too far into it, but the way he's like, if Aquaman is a bad movie, unlike all the other directors who are like, Warner Bros. Interfered.
Yeah, he has a very much, if it's a bad movie,
it's on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's just so
humbling way to think of it.
Love.
Yeah, he doesn't want anyone else to get blamed for it.
No, and he wants to try his best, and he wants to take accountability. I'm like, I wish we had more people like you who are humble and... They do what they do because they're just happy.
You got to give him props for putting Aquaman in the OG costume. Like the green and gold.
And Jason Momoa for being like...
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Which I would have loved to be in that meeting because I don't even think he was hesitant. I think he would have been... I think he would have been like, this is the suit you want me to wear.
Right.
Yeah. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, well, I think... Well, and also... Aquaman starts off straight up as a fun movie because he's like at the bar and those biker dudes come up to him and he's like, "You're the fish boy," and he's like, "Fish man." And they're like, "Can we get a photo?" I was dying laughing so hard in them. Do you remember that? When he's in the bar and those biker guys are like, "Can we get a photo?" And they're like, big smile.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's great.
Aquaman was very well put together.
It really was. But anyways, they get expelled from the Puritan colony, never to return. And,
we get this very gritty overtone music, too. Which
it's like
really
choir,
adds.
orchestral choir, but it's unsettling. And I'm like, how?
Imagine creaking metal that's like...
Yeah, imagine the sound that they did in the 70s and 80s where they had a violin stick hitting like a thing with water in it. It goes, and then someone gets whacked.
Well,
that
actually,
kind of sound.
I don't even know if they have the theme on here. Otherwise, I'd play a little section of it.
Nah, we don't need to do that. They can hear it. They'll just watch the movie. Or just look it up. Nah. But... They find a new land that they're going to live off of and, live on, and that's good for them.
Yeah, which is, personally for me, I thought it was weird going to the middle of the woods. I'm not a woods person.
Listen, it's the 17th century.
No, I just feel like if they're being superstitious, the woods would be the last place you would want to be by.
Again...
But, I mean, wherever you could find it, it's by a creek. So
everyone was around the woods back then. There were no cities.
No, but, they all had their gates. They had their little communities. That was the thing.
Right. It's not like they're going to join a new one, though. Because if they're all Puritan colonies, then it's going to go through the grapevine and other people are going to hear about it.
Oh, I know. That was the thing. I just was like... I feel like if you're that superstitious and you knew, like, the legends, because, you know, you got the sense because, you know, and it's not just the sense of, like, oh, we're abandoning our entire way of life.
Right.
Type of thing. It was also the fact of, like, you know, besides just losing their home, it was going to be, like, we have to basically, we basically have to find a way to get water, find food for ourselves, and find a little land that we can live off of without, you know, being too far in case we do need help.
Well, it's also, you have to understand, it's also pretty much all William, because he says later on in the movie that his sin is pride. Like, he's straight up like, oh, well, you think I'm doing it wrong? Screw you guys. I don't need any of you. So I get the feeling, even if it was a different community and they wouldn't know who they are, he wouldn't go back to them anyway.
Yeah, which is a conversation I had earlier. But yeah, that's one of the things that has a problem in life that I kind of like that they addressed. Because it's... I just find it really selfish that he did that. Because it's kind of like, you know...
Oh, yeah, he's
everybody's
very selfish.
allowed to have pride. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that, but when you take pride and you have other people riding on the line with you, that's not a time to be a pompous ass and just decide that you're going to make, you know, the big call.
Sure. Well, too much pride is a sin.
Yeah. Which is something that he broke there, too. So it's like, you were wrong in both aspects. Mm-hmm. But I mean, especially then, it's like, you cost your family everything.
Yep.
And they had an infant, too. So it's like, you know, now not only have you got your family cast out, but essentially what you've also done is put your baby and everybody at risk.
Right.
So, from there, though, they ended up finding a little farmland that's right by next to this woods, as we were saying, and by a creek. So, I mean, it's not all terrible. At least they have, like...
They've got resources.
A pre-established home, which I believe was abandoned, right? And they just ended up fixing it up.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Or no, was it a pre-established home? I thought they made their own.
Did they?
I thought it was implicit that they made their own. They made it all that's there was theirs from scratch.
I think you're right. They use their skills to do. Either way, beautiful farm. I mean, I'm not a woods person again, but that looked pretty damn cozy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me personally, at some point, I might do a farm type situation in the sense of like, I don't know. At some point in my life, I might just be like, I don't want to talk to anybody anymore.
It's cozy though. I mean, part of me, really wishes I could have like playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Mm-hmm. Where it's like on the Marston Ranch. It's just so comfy.
Yeah, like
imagine having farm hands. It's like your own little community.
It's the same with Hawkeye. Doing the little farm he's got. It's the simple life. Even though it's the most difficult thing you've ever done in your life, but still.
Not the 9 to 5. You're still contributing in a way that's different, but you also have. It's like rewarding,
Right. I'd love something like maybe. Do you know what an airship is? It's not what you think it sounds based on the name.
It sounds familiar, but refresh my memory as to what
it's like a completely bio-made home. Like, it's made out of like dirt and tires and old Coke bottles, and you can get one made in like Arizona or wherever. But part of me wants one of those with like solar power and like some greenhouses to grow food and maybe a few animals or something. Just because like that's my dream of like. If for some reason I worked for the government in the future, that's my final mission package. Is after that I get to go here.
What about Subnautica?
Yeah.
What if you did an underwater base? Could that, you gotta admit, as creepy as that be, seeing that waking up in the morning.
Have you seen the Meg? No, thank you.
I saw underwater. That made it worse for me.
Yeah. How many miles below the ocean were they in underwater?
30,000, I believe.
Nope.
I was talking about on the shallows building a base. Like, where I built mine Subnautica, I'm still in the shallows.
Yeah. Well, in underwater, they're at that... It doesn't happen in the movie because it would be very boring. But they're at that bottom level of the ocean where the pressure is so much that if you were outside of the thing for whatever reason for a second, logically, it would crush you. Instantly.
Yeah, it yeesh. Well, I think they explained that away too, though, because they had those pressurized suits.
Right. Yeah, they do.
It wasn't
or
like they just went out and were like, let's hope we're in
did you ever see The Martian?
No.
That kind of base, he has a kind of base there, and then something happens, but he starts growing food. I'm like,
I figured it was kind of like Interstellar, but more survival based.
Yeah. Well, The Martian also has, like, partial real science in it, like, more than you would expect from a movie, you know?
Well,
there's some stuff that's way off.
I think the credibility comes because it came from the novel, obviously.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only reason they probably had more science in it.
Well, it's like, because he gets left behind, and there's a thing of, like, like, if it was a Hollywood movie, it'd be like, they'll come back and get him in, like, a few weeks or something, or when they realize he's alive. No, you don't understand. Traveling from Mars to Earth takes years just by itself, and then going back. So he was on Mars for years by himself, and like when they get him back, he's all like malnourished and everything, and I'm like, Jesus, like that's hell. Like how he survived with not talking to anybody is beyond me.
Isn't the Invincible guys where they literally took 2 weeks to get there? Because I was like,
2 weeks?
That's not right.
Nah.
But again, they were also using secret government tech.
Of course, because that's the best kind in narrative right-away situations.
Man, imagine that. If we colonize Mars, how far away the stupid people would be.
As long as it's not like The Expanse.
Oh, they make it like The Expanse.
I hope not. That did not go well.
Let's just hope we're on Earth and we can preserve and all the stupid people go away. Get lost out there.
You're acting like all the stupid people would go to a different planet.
They probably would.
Nah, they'd be like, what's the big spacecraft, mister? It's all made of metal. How does it fly? It's cottage cheese. What is it made of? Like that kind of thing.
That is true.
Anyone like my mushmouth impression of idiots? Anyway.
But
so yeah, they got their little homestead. They've been there for a while, because when they left, Catherine was pregnant. Yeah. And now she's got a wee babe. I think
they said it was like a 6-month time jump.
Was it 6 months? Okay.
I thought it was 6 months.
I don't know, because they're growing. They grew corn, so I don't know if in that time they had enough time to like.
It was either 6 months to a year. It was something like that. I thought.
I don't know if in that amount of time they had enough time for the corn to like. I don't think it was a year, because 6 months might be right, because like. It sounds like they've never dealt with the winter before.
No, they probably was more close to 6 months in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't imagine it was like, I just remember it was kind of a short amount of time.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. Every time you kind of go to look it up, it says that The Witch was adapted from the Narnia series. Somebody fucked up on Google. That doesn't
sound right.
So every time you guys, I don't know if you guys have been on Google, but they really mess up a lot.
Yeah.
Like, way too much.
Yeah, it's weird. It's real strict.
But.
Yeah. But so then, Thomason is taking care of the baby. And then she's like playing peekaboo with it, and then one moment it's there, and then literally the next moment it's just gone.
Well, that's the weirdest part. She's playing peekaboo.
You know, where you close your eyes for like seconds.
Peekaboo. Yeah, and literally that's the scariest part, because it's like there's something to be said about when you see random stuff that's not there. Mm-hmm. It's scarier than a jump scare effect, which they really shouldn't do.
Right.
I don't need a loud noise to be like, ba-ba-bum.
When you see somebody's expression of what's occurred, and then you show it, you know?
It's enough. Like, if my face looks all warped and demonic, I don't need a dun-dun-dun in my face. It's just, like, already, like, that is not supposed to be in the mirror. I'm afraid.
Can you do a horror movie short film where, like, you do look horrifically terrifying, like something out of Satan's Nightmares, and then you just have me voiceover? Da, da, da.
You know, I really want to make a gag short one day, like or a movie of that, where it's literally just all the tropes.
Yeah.
Just to fuck with people and just be like, hey, welcome to a short film with all the modern tropes that make them such shitty movies.
You got to do a Hitchcock pull in that.
No, I can't do that. I'd have to wait till the end where it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. That's when all the best Hitchcock pulls happen. You know how to do a Hitchcock pull, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Have you done it before?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I know how to do it. I just haven't used one.
It's not that complicated. Yeah, you just walk backwards while zooming in. That's why it looks so freaking weird.
But yeah, I got to put it at a random time and, do a bunch of Michael Bay cutaways that are so close up and so frequent that nobody could tell what the hell is going on. Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks.
You remember that, Sean Brody, when he's getting ripped apart? There's so many images of, Michael Bay, and it's like, wait, what's happening?
I do remember the worst Jaws movie. Mr. 3 was the worst. Fuck you. We're still not agreeing on that. Can we agree the first one is the best?
We can agree the first one is the best, and 2 is better than both.
Yep, we can agree on that.
But what about Jaws 5, Cruel Jaws?
Never saw it. I don't imagine
it's the Italian ripoff.
You did tell me that's even worse.
Bruno Matti. Wow, they didn't even use... Man, Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, if you guys listen to that, imagine that, but with Jaws footage stolen from The Last Shark.
No, really?
And the original movie, too, of Jaws.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to review that. That one will be a quick
If you guys haven't listened to it yet, well, please listen to our reviews of Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, because I've never heard this man so pissed off blatantly. Not for himself, but for the people involved who had to be a part of that shit show.
Let me explain something to you guys very briefly and very quickly. Mm-hmm. Plagiarism is not a joke.
No.
And if you guys want to see how your professors feel when you're plagiarizing that paper, and if you're doing so right now, stop it and feel nothing but shame. Please. Shame, shame, shame
ding,
on you.
Ding, 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 ding. Don't forget the bell.
Yeah. We're going to Game of Thrones your asses.
That was the reference I was making. I was hoping they'd get it without us blatantly saying it. Anyway.
But yeah, feel shame. It's not a joke, and it's terrible. And this movie is nothing but plagiarism. So if you want to see complete unoriginality and nothing but that is the...
Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, not The Witch. I did not see any instances of plagiarism.
Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. The Witch is perfect in its entirety, but...
Yep. It's completely original, we can say that for sure.
Yes. So after the baby gets kidnapped with the witch here, she what was her, what's the main girl's name again? Why am I trying
Thomason.
Yeah, Thomason opens, uncovers her eyes, and then the baby's just gone, like we said, which is also
it's
weird.
It's her mortified face that really does it, because it sticks on that for a few seconds.
Right.
That would be unexpectedly too long, so that's just even more time for your brain to be like, oh god, what happened? Like, is it dead? Is it mutilated? Is its head gone? Who knows?
Well, the other part of it, too, is, like, when you realize it's gone, you realize that the pond is right there, the little stream, and you never heard anything cross the water either.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it more horrifying, because you're sitting there like,
what the hell was there?
There wasn't even a noise. Mm-hmm. Just gone. And the basket was still there. So it's not like the basket disappeared too. It was just like the baby. So it's like not even a rustle from or a cry from the baby either. Just poof.
Right. It's like imagining like if I took a shower, but there was no noise for the shower. So I just walked out and was wearing a towel after the shower.
That seems like a scary thought.
No one knew I took a shower.
I was going to say it's more like the blip.
Have I said the word shower enough?
I was going to say it's more like the blip without the dusting.
Yeah.
How people just appear and disappear.
Do you think there was anyone who, when the blip happened, they were taking a shower, and then when they came back, there wasn't a shower there anymore?
We're going to ask one side-off question. What about people who are taking a shit? Because they clearly established in WandaVision that anybody who was on a plane or anywhere else just died. So Thanos killed more than half the population.
Yeah, I never thought of that, because we saw a helicopter crash.
Because that joke...
So, did they spawn back in the middle of the air? Or did they come back in the seat of...
Because that was the joke about being realistic in Avengers, that joke video. But it was true. Because if you look at WandaVision in the hospital, everybody who was sitting there just...
people are popping back into chairs where they were visiting and like...
Yeah, so it's like... So essentially everybody did just disappear where they were at.
Right.
So it was like, oh dear Lord. So, horrifying.
Yeah, especially...
Imagine being the one who's taking a shit.
Imagine being the one who was taking a shower, and then when you come back, there's someone else taking a shower in your shower. And then you come back and you're both taking your shower.
Alright, moving on
I'm
from
very
showers.
tired. Or what if it was renovated and there was no more showers?
So
when you came
the baby
back,
gets
you were just
kidnapped,
nude in a room.
And
Samuel
do we go to
say
the
his
woods
whole
next?
name. Yeah, well, we see the witch holding him. And then you see her, like, gently caressing his body, which made me uncomfortable. Because I was thinking this whole time, man, the witch needs a shower. And then she got a knife out, and it's implied that she killed the baby, smushed it up, and then is covering herself in the blood of the baby, too, as we see later make herself younger.
Which, the most horrifying thing about this, too, also, is that she's naked.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever seen...
that's the most terrifying thing about any situation, people. Nude women. Ask a pastor's kid right here. That's what we'll tell you. Most terrifying thing ever.
Nude women who kill babies.
Yeah, nude women are terrifying. Gambling and winning, that's terrifying. Sex, don't even. What birth control do I need? Don't do it. That's the birth control. I'm very tired. Hold on, let me get a brisk jog in. Okay. I think I'm good. They don't need to know what I did. Okay.
Now that we're back from our little jog. No, so I know what we did say at the beginning. So that is one of the disturbing elements of this movie. I'm glad they didn't draw it out though, and they didn't really see. It was all implied.
Yeah, we didn't need to see her stab the wee baby.
So I'm glad they didn't do that.
We need to hear it screaming.
Unlike Mother.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That's something I did not need to see to feel, because that movie already had enough feels, but,
Which one was Mother again?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, well, I never saw that one. Remember?
Yeah, I know. That's why I was saying. That movie was pretty disturbing, and I don't blame you.
Religious themes.
Because Mother is one of those films that even I had to recuperate, so... Usually
he has to let me tell you, this guy is fucked up. When he has to recuperate from something, God help us all.
I kind of have a Rick Sanchez thing. I have a large tolerance for films because I've just seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, Mother is one of those films that is a masterpiece in the sense of what it's...
Spectacle and visual.
Saying, yeah, for the human race and stuff like that with some religious undertones. But, my God, literally that was... Wow.
Yeah.
Little much for the human race to accept, but I think it's one of those... I think it's one of those things that the reason people didn't like it is because it was too true to humanity, so...
Yeah. Some people can't swallow the truth.
Yeah. I may do just one review on it, because I've already subjected poor Nathaniel here to Society in 1BR.
Have I mentioned I hate you?
So,
have I told you that recently? I need to tell you again.
Although, in all fairness, none of those movies I thought had those overtones until I actually sat and watched them. It was like, oh...
It's good to know you were like, hey, watch this, and then you watched it. Was I your guinea pig for all this?
Figured we could experience it together, and really...
Well, yeah, we could experience together while not watching it together. Watching it on our own in separate zip codes.
Zip-it codes?
It's falling more apart the longer you talk about it, isn't it? What? I'm not trying to kick your shin. Anyway.
No, so we do end up getting...
a week time jump of the babe being taken.
Yeah, in which the mother is not...
Catherine. She doesn't sleep. All she does all day is pray.
Yeah, she has what we call lost her shit.
Yeah, to put it bluntly. She lost her shit.
Which, I mean, on top of everything, them not having basically a home or anywhere, and they're on their own.
They have a home, it's just, it's not exactly like,
it's not exactly like a home, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things really where family is where the home is.
Exactly. And then, Caleb and his dad, they're like shucking corn because they got to get that food storage ready. They got to be ready for the winter. Because that was the thing about the age before the internet. If you didn't have enough food and enough firewood to last the winter, you would die.
Isn't that fun?
And this was a time period where if you did die from like freezing or getting eaten by wolves,
it was slow and painful.
Well, of course. Or if you were killed by bandits, this was the period of time where everyone was like, well, what'd you think was going to happen?
It was more like, well, as God wills it.
My hands were tied. I couldn't help you. I didn't have enough corn for my family. But I digress.
Yeah. It was what we call less than ideal.
Yes. But now we have, at least in our country, we have better times. We have air conditioning. That's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of things that they did not have that we should be happy that we do have now.
Mm-hmm. Air conditioning and heating are quite nice, I do have to say.
So.
But in any case, she's very distraught. Jonas and Mercy, they are creepy throughout this whole movie. Like, just entirely. We can agree with that?
I can.
They're kind of just they're skipping around singing about the goat and, like, how he's the king and blah, 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 blah. Very, as you would consider back in this time period, blasphemous stuff.
Not only very satanic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, into which there is we do have some dialogue on that from, what is it, the dad or the mom?
What dialogue is it?
On the kids kind of singing about that. I forget if it's the mom or the dad that gets on him about it.
It's the mom. The mom gets really on him for it at first.
And then she kind of casually...
Well, no, then the dad gets on him for it.
Yeah, which... he didn't seem like he really cared about his family after a while.
Well, he didn't seem like he cared about the kids because he's worried about if they're going to live or not, That's why him and Caleb are going out hunting with that hunting equipment that, no, I would never trust that shit. Are you kidding me? Like, he fired the musket and his eye almost burnt off. Like, fuck that. No.
Did he even load it properly? Did he give it to his son, too?
His son was helping him load it. And then it blew up in his face. So which some people have speculated, because there's a theory going around that the rabbit they were pointing the gun at is a shape-shifting witch, or is the witch. Because we see that same rabbit multiple times, just given the death stare, and horrible things happen with it. So it's possible that the witch would have, shout out to WandaVision fans, maybe put some type of probability hex on the gun to make it backfire.
Yeah, that's
You could
true.
see that. You could see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like the little subtle hints in here to what could have been and what's happened. That was a super nice touch.
I agree.
I think that's one thing I really enjoyed about this movie too, and what made it so much more atmospherical is you were constantly guessing.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know what was going to happen.
No, you had no idea what was ever going on completely, or what was watching.
Even by the end of the movie, I'm still not clear on, my understanding of at least the world that this movie is in,
Yeah, which I do believe Robert Eggers said that the lighthouse and stuff are connected.
Is it the same world?
Yeah, I think it is the same universe.
Ooh, so. It's his own cinematic universe. Good for him.
So I like the idea of that because they're time period masterpieces.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I could agree with that.
So to kind of catch you guys up to speed, a lot of what kind of happens from there is we just kind of see the family falling apart more and more. The family is disconnecting, I'd say, more and more by the day. And we finally end up getting to... why do I keep forgetting the girl's name? Thomason.
Just think Thomas and then in.
Yeah, we're Thomason and Caleb. They basically. Why is this playing in the background?
Yeah, because it keeps regressing. You know, the two twins are being weird. Catherine keeps getting worse and worse. William's freaking out because they don't have any food. None of the traps that they're setting are working. And a very important thing was, in order to get all this equipment, he sold his wife's silver cup that she got from her father when they got married. There's a lot of layers to it. But essentially, go ahead.
Yeah, essentially we end up getting to Thomason and Caleb, who, before shit really hits the fan, they kind of go out together looking, or gathering some water. No, cleaning their clothes. They're kind of doing a laundry day.
No, so after they get back from...
Caleb and William
are hunting, and then they come and checking their traps, and then they come back, and in order to cover for the fact that they were hunting, because he knew his mom wouldn't be in for that, Caleb was like, I was checking the valley because we thought there was an apple tree. We thought it would have been a nice surprise for you. Which, remember the apple people, because that comes back later. But... you know, he's kind of covering for his dad, which, in my opinion, at least, I don't think covering for your parent, because we see this happen a lot in this movie, I don't think covering for your parent is something a child should ever be faced with having to do. Like, especially not as young as Caleb is, because the dude looks like he's 10.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fair to him in any way.
No, you should never have to cover for a grown-ass adult. Like, that's not cool.
Who... really caused everything that's wrong with your family right now in this situation.
And if you're in such a situation where it is needed for a child to cover for you, out of context, I suppose, congratulations, you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
basically.
Unless it's like a birthday party or Christmas or something. I don't know. I don't know the whole circumstances. It just doesn't sound
There's
good
certain
to me.
certain circumstances that
I could justify it. Like, the more I'm saying it, the more it sounds okay, but I'm just like... in a very bad circumstance. You know, like, if you have your kids say you were going out to get toys when really you were picking up something from a dealer, you know, or something, or gambling, you know?
Yeah, which is kind of where, you know, you kind of get the idea of why Catherine would be not exactly thrilled about that, as, you know, William is kind of, in all honesty, because, and I think that plays a lot into what's going on with their marriage, William has proven very irresponsible. I mean, he's very withdrawn, and like you said earlier, like, I get the whole thing of, like, he's really thinking about how they're going to survive and stuff, but it's also like, you also have your family
right,
that you need to be concerned about, and you need to be there.
You're still a father, you are still a husband. Yeah. You know, your independence and pride is not worth any of that.
Yeah, and you really need to be present because they need you just as much. Right. And it's like when your wife and your kid disappear, you need to have a little bit more of a reaction than, wow, well, that's shitty. Yep. Because that's basically what his reaction was, huh, my kid's gone. Yeah. Shit happens.
Exactly.
And it was like,
and I understand of the time period that was the mentality of a lot of people, but it's also like, if you're a father, that shouldn't be your mentality, I guess.
You should at least have some emotion. Mm-hmm. Even if you're trying to be the strong person and role model to be like, everything's going to be okay. Exactly. You should at least have a moment where you're like, shit.
Everything's not going to be.
That was my kid.
Right.
And like, you know, the sibling to my children. Mm-hmm. That my wife had not even that long ago. Like, it's, you know, so you really get a distaste for William, and Ralph did a great job at portraying him. There was a lot of flaws that William had that were portrayed very, very well and done very, very well. Yeah. And you really got a sense of his, I don't know what the word is. His arrogance, but also his pride.
How he carries himself. Him as a person.
Yeah, which it feels like throughout the movie too, he still hasn't learned a lesson of why they got kicked out in the first place.
Right, until later on in the movie.
Until like towards the very end when he's like, shit. Yeah. I have nothing now.
Exactly. But Thomason and Caleb, she's cleaning her dad's clothes.
Into which Caleb gets a little bit of adolescent puberty time.
He's looking at breast.
Which is like...
It's not his fault.
No.
As two guys who have been at that age in our lives, we can acknowledge, not his fault.
Everybody else is going to say... Because, you're always going to have those people or gals that are like...
You could control your impulses.
Not when you're 13.
No.
Now...
Your eyes wander. It's a natural instinct.
Once you get to 15, and you've already been, like, in puberty for 2 years, you got to stop being a dog in heat.
Yeah.
But, like, when you first hit puberty, it's like, you're just curious.
You hit puberty at 13?
No.
Oh, okay. Me neither. I was a big boy. I hit it at, like, 10.
I think I started at 12 and, like, finished, like, around 12-ish.
I think mine's still going. I think mine's growing back, actually.
I think that's
Puberty part 2. This time it's personal.
That's about as accurate as a hymen.
Yeah. Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, I think it is about as accurate as a regrowing hymen, but...
Oh, okay.
Thank God we didn't get any of these or something like that in there, because a lot of these classic movies, they also go on about that.
Yeah.
There's something I can't stand about time period movies, because everything has to do with, if there's ever a daughter, it's like, there's always a joke about how the hymen grew back if it's a comedy, or like this, the wonderful world of women and birth, and
the
how
wonderful
it's
world of sex.
And it's like, we get it, okay? For men, it's the most glorious thing on the planet. You get to plug, your thingy into a hole.
Don't fully quote Big Mouth, but yes.
But yeah, it's like that. And then for females, it's the worst thing ever, and it's just horrible, and death. Mm-hmm. Basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine getting anything like a puberty. I can't handle colds well, let alone having a period,
So you'd be like...
Did I say a puberty at first?
Yes.
I meant period. Guys, I'm tired.
No.
I can't imagine getting anything like a period. Like, and the fact that women have to deal with that once a month, if they're fairly regular, like, I think we both can agree on this sentiment. Bravo.
I'm happy to be a guy in this instance.
Yeah. I'm just saying bravo to women for doing what they do every day of their lives. You're way better than I am as far as I'm concerned.
I think, I'm okay with occasionally, possibly, or maybe never in my lifetime passing a kidney stone.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. No. Well, thank God. Thank God if we get a kidney stone, it's modern day medicine, because they can break it up with shockwaves.
Before it gets all sharp and pebble rocky.
Well, no, that's how kidney stones work, is they are just sharp and pebble rocky. But they can use shockwaves to just break them down into nothingness. So the next time you pee, it's just your pee is a different color. That's all
what
it
I mean.
is.
Instead of having sharp rocks coming down the tube.
Sending the canary down the cave.
Because I remember that. I know we're going on a little tangent, but I remember seeing that the Family Guy bit where the one singer is doing a song, and they made, I can't remember who it was, but he's passing a kidney stone, and he's doing all of his yelling. I think it might have been the dude who did, the Spell trailer, like the song they sing in it?
I put a spell on you.
Yeah.
'Cause you're mine.
Is it Annie Lennox?
I think. Maybe. I'm not sure.
It's always fun when the computer doesn't load that fast. Here, let me...
Don't say you're using a computer on the show. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I can't say I'm using my brain. No, it's not her. I don't know why they're giving credit to her. Because hers came out in 2014. Yeah, that's not right. That's not right. They shouldn't be giving...
I don't know how algorithms work, so I can't say personally.
Well, hers is a cover, so I don't get why they're trying to say that it was hers. No, Jay Hawkins.
Yep.
I think they were doing something along the line, Screaming Jay Hawkins, something along the line of that. But when I was like, kidney stones, I think those are just like smooth stones that, must start coming out. And then I looked at what they look like.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my good Lord.
It's like trying to pass a boulder.
Yeah, I was like, well, I saw the sharp ones too. And I'm like, oh, no.
Here's the thing. It looks sharp, but it's not like you're going to bleed internally. It's just pain.
I know, but just... Ow. Thinking that they had to do that in the 17th century. Because they look like stones, too. They basically are stones.
Right.
But I mean, look. That just... Ow.
Hold on, let me put on my glasses. Yeesh. Huh.
Yeah.
Please, we're talking about enough of a horror movie. I don't need you to show me super zoomed in pictures of kidney stones. My God.
Yeah, they look like little crystals. It's horrifying, but...
We need to talk about how Mercy was saying that Samuel was taken by a witch, and Thomason then scared the crap out of her by saying that she was a witch.
Yeah, which really was not a smart idea at all whatsoever on Thomason's part.
Well, she's a kid. She's, smart ideas aren't exactly the forte.
I mean, I get that she was a teenager, but it's like... You realize that part of the other thing, too, that had to do with you guys getting kicked out had to do with the talk of witchcraft.
Exactly.
So why would you then think it'd be a good idea to continue talking about that?
Right. Exactly. And it's yeah.
So, with that, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, basically what we get is a lot of tension between the family as things are starting to get progressively worse by, like we said earlier, them not catching anything or having the food and supplies and dealing with the loss of the baby.
It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and then
especially if you're all by your own and you don't have any other adults to communicate with. Yeah,
and the two twins having the time of their lives, worshiping basically the goat at this point.
It's so weird.
William has totally been withdrawn from his wife. Catherine is having a fit and not even talking to anybody anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time we really get around to them kind of sitting down as a family,
yeah,
they get into a huge argument into which Mercy and her...
Because Catherine thinks Thomason misplaced the silver cup.
Right. Because he hasn't told her that he went out and sold it.
Yeah, William hasn't told her. So William kind of unfairly just kind of lets Thomason take the blunt of Catherine's pent-up rage and anger.
Yeah, which is not cool at all.
No. But he gets the idea of like, all right, let's yeah, he gets the idea of like, okay, well, if you have such a problem with Thomason, let's just find another family and sell her, and she'll live with them instead.
Yeah.
To which you and I would find cruel, but at the time period was not uncommon.
Yeah, it really goes to show though how how irresponsible and how little of a shit he does give about his family.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, I mean, besides neglecting his wife,
right,
and his other children, so
he's not a great dad.
No, he's not, and it further shows. And Thomason tries to defend herself because she's kind of like, okay, why are you digging into this when I clearly haven't done anything?
Exactly. Like, why would I lie? What would be the purpose of lying about this, you know?
Yeah.
But her and Caleb, before she is to be sent to another family, he ends up going hunting by himself, but she goes with him. And they get a few rabbits.
Yeah, because they want to do something better to kind of help ease the tension between everybody. Into which, what happens to Caleb again? Trying to think. Does he get knocked down or
Caleb?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
No, so their dog Howler chases a rabbit and he goes after it.
Yeah, which we can assume is the witch.
And Thomason gets separated because the horse runs away from Thomason. And they start looking for... Catherine and William start looking for both. And yeah, we can assume he's taken by the witch. Because, like, she's a beautiful young woman and she also, like, kisses him. And I'm like, this is freaking weird.
Yeah. But it's like... It does make the the sense of why Eggers chose to put like adolescence in here and draw that out.
Yeah, because it's like it's a weird thing. It's a good parallel because William and Catherine, they both think they're pure and their kids have a lot to learn. When really, in a lot of ways, it's kind of the other way around. Like kids kind of make decisions instinctively based on how they're feeling, whereas adults need to think everything through. You know.
Yeah, and it's really. I find it really sad too because it's like part of it I want to say is not just adolescence. It's also kind of like another human being as well. Mm-hmm. That I can, like we aren't alone out here after all.
Exactly.
So, I think that plays a huge part in it. But yeah, basically Thomason comes back, and I don't remember what her explanation was.
I think,
offhand.
I don't remember it either, to be quite honest with you.
It's kind of a lot, because they kind of just end up really dumping on Thomason for the rest of the movie. So I don't remember her response offhand.
Me neither.
But basically, they end up freaking out on her, and then Caleb ends up coming back.
Mm-hmm. And way later on in the night, he comes back, is raiding,
and he's
naked.
He's naked and basically just so out of it, like he just got drugged up. And so they get him, bring him, lay him down.
Yeah, he kind of convulses and suffers.
A bit, yeah, and to which...
An apple comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, which is also horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And to which they kind of bring it back to the witchcraft, into which that is when the whole Thomason as a witch comes up for Mercy and her little brother. And they start saying, well, Thomason said she was a witch down by the lake a few days ago. And, of course, Thomason's kind of pinned in a corner there, and she doesn't quite know what to say except to kind of like defend herself. And she kind of tries to give like how ridiculous that sounds and whatnot, but can't really defend herself.
Mm-hmm.
Altogether, because with her dad already kind of trying not to take accountability for what's happening, and her mom already in a grieving stage, everybody just thinks they're being cursed with also what's happening and going on. Shortly after, though, what is it? So basically, they say a group prayer to prove her innocence or see if Thomason is the witch, into which Caleb, I believe, says Thomason's name.
Mm-hmm.
And then dies, I believe, right after that. So then it convinces William and Catherine that she is indeed a witch.
Well, he's like, when he's convulsing, they're trying to pray over him. But the Mercy and Jonah, they can't remember the prayer words. So they start convulsing just like him. And then when he says like a big quote and then he dies, and the kids keep saying, oh, she's a witch, Thomason's a witch. To which she responds, no pun intended there, to which she responds by like her dad saying like, tell me what's happening, like, what do you think is going on? And she says, I think they've made a pact with Black Phillip, who is the devil in disguise. Which at the time would not have been unheard of.
Yeah, which I believe wasn't it something too, like, once they said the prayer, she left the room, that they stopped convulsing because they played along with it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that made her look even worse.
Yep.
So from there, Thomas and Catherine are now convinced that she is the witch, definitively. And to which their response to that is to lock her up in the, basically...
in the barn with the goats with Mercy and Jonas.
Yeah, which earlier in the movie, when Thomason was milking the goat,
Blood came out.
Yeah, which was really gross. And probably one of the things that made me cringe the most.
Me too. I agree with that. 100%.
And then eventually, shortly after that, as... What is Mercy and her brother doing again? They end up singing, the youngest brother, they end up jumping around and singing again, isn't it? Worshipping the goat and also doing some other shady crap, to which Catherine keeps telling them to stop, and which eventually results in, I believe, William throwing them into the barn with Thomason and accusing them of being, apostates of Satan too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A servant of Satan.
And to which then they're not too adamant about the goat staring at them.
No, because that goat is locking eyes, and it's very creepy. But then Catherine hallucinates.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I want to say, too. I love goats. They're so freaking adorable.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
When they really look at you...
Yeah, when they look at you, they look at you.
They don't... It's creepy. They're they see your soul.
They do not waver. They do not look any other way. And it's very unsettling.
Because you don't know what they're going to do either. It's the way that they look at you, and they're kind of I could ram you, or I could just stare you down.
Or depending on how my horns are, I could gore you.
Yeah, it's you don't know what I'm going to do.
Exactly. But then Catherine is sleeping, and she has a hallucination that both of her kids are back. Both Samuel and Caleb. Both of her dead children. And then she sits down and she's hallucinating that Samuel needs to breastfeed. It's not Samuel, it's a crow. It starts pecking at her nipple. And I was like, no, okay. And she's laughing creepily while it's happening. I was like, no, okay. None of that, please.
Yeah, she kind of definitively lost her shit.
Yeah, if she hadn't before, she definitely did now.
Yeah, to which we get the same effect with William, who doesn't he just start hacking away at wood?
He's about to start doing it again, because he does it throughout this whole movie. It's his way of relieving stress.
Which, I mean, at least you have enough firewood.
Well, he's about to start doing it again, but the night before, a witch appeared and started eating a goat, and then next thing he knows, he comes out, all the goats are dead, there's blood everywhere. Mercy and Jonas are gone. They're not in the movie anymore. And Thomason's there on the ground. And then he gets gored by Black Phillip.
The black goat that we've seen throughout the entire film.
Mm-hmm. And then he's about to pick up an axe to fight him, but then he drops it and goes, "Pride was my son." And then Black Phillip rams him into the wood, and wood collapses on him, and he dies. And to which, yeah, I agree. It's it's definitely his pride that is a problem for all of this. He was too prideful to admit that his religious ways were incorrect, and that's why they were
kicked out.
It was his pride for not admitting that they don't have enough food, or they wouldn't have enough for food, so he sold the cup so that they could so that they could hunt food. And it was his pride of not admitting it that got Thomason in trouble for it, and he didn't speak up and defend her. He's very prideful.
Yeah, and it's ultimately his downfall, which is quite satisfying and fitting. Because it's you really
he's been chopping wood this whole movie, so now the fact that pile of it just falls on him.
Yeah, it was very...
Poetic justice.
I think it was a very satisfying end for him. Because it was it just, and if you really wanted to think about it, you could have thought of the wood as a metaphor, the boulder that kept on building.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just kept getting bigger and bigger with each lie, with each exaggeration or procrastination that he gave to his family. It just kept growing on him until finally it was oh, it only took one little teeter-totter and it all came down on top of you, both figuratively and literally. And then I don't remember, did they ever say what happens to Catherine, or does she just kind of give up?
No, yeah, Thomason tries to go back to the house, but then Catherine attacks her and tries to choke her, and she's calling her a slut and all this stuff, because she's claiming that she was flaunting herself in front of Caleb. And then, like, oh, that's gross to think about.
Which is, like, not uncommon for this time period either.
Well, but Thomason definitely was.
No, she never did once. It was just him being the horny little teenage man he was becoming.
Exactly. But then she tries to choke her, and Thomason gets a knife and kills her. So it's like, there's nobody left at this point.
So she's just kind of like...
She's desperate. She doesn't know what to do. She knows she can't survive on her own.
And she's like, well, if I go back and I have nobody there, they're going to ask questions, or it's going to be like, hey, because unfortunately back in that time... I'm
going to be forced to marry some shithead of a guy.
Well, if that would be the luckiest alternative.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been like, hey, random girl on the side of the street. What do we do now?
Yeah, we don't need to continue that. People can implicit the answer. But, so then she goes into the barn and starts talking to Black Phillip, to which we don't see it. It happens off screen, but Black Phillip morphs into a man and asks her, like, do you want this? Do you want that? And she's like, yes. So he has her sign the book, which is the book that's rumored when you become a witch, you sign away your soul in it, and it's a book owned by the devil. So she does that, and then she, like, strips off all of her clothes and starts walking to the woods, and we see a bunch of witches dancing around a fire.
Completely nude.
Yes, and then she stands with them, and they all start flying in the air, and she starts flying, and that's a movie.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. I like how they kept the supernatural bit and how many witches were there until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they didn't really give it. And that's kind of what makes Robert Eggers' movies, like even The Lighthouse, so good, is because he doesn't give a whole lot away.
No.
It's the same kind of with Ari Aster. Same with Ari Aster and was it Hereditary?
Yeah.
And or Ari Aster, sorry. In Hereditary, and from what I've seen of Midsummer so far, that's also his kind of style too.
Exactly.
So that's really a cool. It's really a good movie, and it was really well put together from the script to.
Yeah, the adaptation from paper to screen, I feel like was done very, very smoothly. Not one of these actors phones it in. Not a one. No. And I can appreciate that. Because even when the kid actors are trying, like,
it works.
It works really well. It works really well. And the animal actors in this movie were great, too. Like, whichever goat they got to play Black Phillip, because you can tell that's a real goat actually reacting to these people and all this stuff. Like,
they trained well. They had somebody who knew.
Exactly. And it's, I don't know, because the movie, after they go to the new place, it starts out with Thomason praying, saying she's a sinner, she's done all these things wrong, she wants to do better, and for God to forgive her. But by the end of it, she's lost so much and gone through so much trauma, she just becomes a witch and signs all that away. And it's, I don't know, it's a fascinating... It's fascinating diving into the human psyche of the time period.
Yeah, and done in such a way that didn't need to be backed up with a whole bunch of other stuff. So it was kind of interesting how Robert started the story off, but it wasn't something in the back of your head that you were constantly asking, I wonder what happened before.
And it's not like things get bad 0 to 100. It's a slow, steady, like, one bad thing happens and then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. But it feels like a natural progression of things getting worse, you know?
Yeah, which is like, something
the baby
I appreciate.
Gets stolen, the dog dies, the horse dies, all the crops are bad, your son dies, like...
Everything was, like you said, put at a very steady rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never felt like this movie was rushing anything. I never had the feeling like any of the scenes that I was looking at in this movie were unimportant or unnecessary or just filler. It was a very smart, well-written movie. And despite the subject matter, which did make me uncomfortable at times, thank you, witchcraft and demons, I enjoyed myself. I was able to overlook that for the sake of what I would consider a very high form of art.
Which is something that, when I first watched this movie, I was not impressed by it. Mm-hmm. I was not impressed by it, and then I watched it again, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
This is more than just kind of your average demonic film. It's got a lot to it. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of heart, put into it, and a lot of time put into it. And it was just all around, it was just so well done. It was so well thought out. The characters were very well developed by the acting of the actors, the way that you could tell everybody's personality and kind of where they were. The way Catherine was portrayed, kind of becoming more and more absent, and how they kind of all grew apart simultaneously, and you didn't need to follow them from day to day.
Well, and it's a thing of, like, she seemed nice earlier, but it's like, you lose a kid, it changes you. It changes you on a fundamental level that hopefully you and I will never be able to understand.
Exactly. And I do really love the fact that they made that so well of what her reaction would actually be, because that's exactly what you'd expect. I wouldn't expect anything different of somebody who's lost somebody that's close to her child. So the slow descent
into chaos.
Yeah, into chaos and into what is it? Self.
Oh yeah.
Self-loathing.
It's a thing most people should watch, for nothing else than to get their opinion to slightly change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, I had to watch this twice, and then I've watched it a couple times since. It's one of those that really is just a work of art that you need to see. If you're a film student like me, or somebody who wants to go into the film industry and create their own, I think it'd be a very good reference point for you to watch. I know we kind of jumped around a little bit, but I really do think this is something that a lot of film students could even benefit from, and seeing how well it's laid out, seeing how all the aesthetic and everything goes out. So, you know, it's very nice. And you have like a perfect movie right here, so definitely go check it out, guys. It's worth it. I mean, even if you stuck around for the spoilers and whatnot, I mean, go see it. It's one of those things that visually too, it's so appealing and so rewarding. So go check it out for yourselves.
Yep.
I don't think I have anything more to say on this movie except that it's great.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Anya Taylor-Joy is superb in this and most other things she acts in.
Yeah. And this is really sets in stone why she is where she is.
Exactly. This is a bit of a long shot, but Anya Taylor-Joy, if you would like to tweet me personally, not Noah, or the show. Hello. She's never going to see those. But without
You never know that.
Yeah, I know.
Without further ado, this has been Film Nerds Hour. He's been the Thanos Shoemaker.
He's been Noah Sweeto. Thanks for listening.
And we will see you all guys later.
Bye-bye.